Hey guys, what's up? We're gonna talk about Vermillion Blade Ardyn. We're gonna talk about his normal form, his Braveship form, his TMR, STMR, and Vision card. I'm also gonna give you a sample build and a sample rotation for his Braveship form, and final thoughts at the end. I'm also gonna compare NV Ardyn, NV Noctis, and Edgar of Figaro NV, as well as show you a physical damage chart from Furkula. Alright, let's go. So his Trust Master reward is Rakshasa Blade FF15, attack 162. It activates Royal Bloodline of Lucis, available for all the Noctis variants and Ardyn variants, and 2000-year-old Grudge. So Royal Bloodline Lucis increases boost damage for jump attacks by 100, and 2000-year-old Grudge boosts damage of LB abilities and magic at the beginning of battle or after being revived. So that's 10% dark physical and magic damage for infinite turns. This cannot be dispelled. So it shares the same stats at CB Noctis' TMR, but it gives dark bonus damage instead of light. It is the best weapon for Ardyn besides Ultimate Blade +4. It can be used for boosting dark damage if you don't have a unit to do that. One can equip it on the form the unit is not going to use for damage healing. So the dark bonus will carry over to the other form. For example, equipping it on Edgar, normal form, then Brave Shifting will carry over the dark bonus even if the weapon is not equipped in his Brave Shift form. So Balmung and Brumal Cores have similar effects, but for light and fire, respectively. His Super Trust Master reward is Devotee's Raiment FF15. It has 57 attack, defense 40, and spirit 30. It has dark resistance 50%, and it boosts physical damage against humans by 50% and boosts jump damage by 100%. So this thing shares the same stats as CB Noctis' STMR, but it gives dark resistance and undead killer instead. This is an absolutely amazing STMR, boasting a high flat attack of 57, 50% dark resistance, 100% damage, jump damage, and 50% human killer. So it is the best armor for Ardyn and possibly Noctis as well, and other jump damage healers because of the jump attack 100. Regular physical damage healers can also benefit from this even without benefiting from the jump damage because it has high flat attack and it has human killer 50% and also dark resist 50%. So the dark resistance buff can be useful in dark visions when one has to gear for 30% dark damage to nullify the enemy's elemental attack. Usually you gear for 20 to 30% elemental resist and plus buff so you can nullify the enemy's elemental attack. Human killer is not so rare, can be found on a lot of materia, but it's good to have it on an armor piece. I think this is the only one that everyone can equip for human killer. The other ones are warrior pain, clothes, and Sephiroth's long coat. The human killer is only exclusive for the unit themselves, not for the general unit pool. Here is his vision card. Onward to the disc. At level 10, it gives 110 attack. Level 4 and 7 abilities give 40% attack when equipped with the sword. So pretty synergistic there with his TMR and Ultimate Blade. Level 10 gives light resistance by 50% and damage for jump attacks by 50%. The restriction is a 50-15 unit only. So this shares the same stats as CB Noctis' vision card, but it gives 50% light resistance instead. It is the best vision guard for Ardyn, Noctis, and Aranea Neo Vision since she's also a jump damage healer that wants the 50% jump damage from the level 10 ability. Ardyn will get a bonus attack of 80% when equipped with this vision card and his TMR or Ultimate Blade. The jump damage bonus is limited only to FF15 units sadly. It would be best for all jump damage healers without that restriction, obviously. It also has 10 more attack compared to other attack-based vision cards. So this is great for squeezing out as much damage as possible from your physical damage healer, especially in dark visions. This video is sponsored by Amazon Coins. Get 10,000 Amazon Coins for $80 instead of $100. That's a savings of 20%. You can use the Amazon Coins to buy Lapis for FFBE. I place a link in the description below. Check it out after you watch the video. Alright, here are the base stats for normal and brazier form. So if you take a look at the table there, his attack at NV, base NV is 234. Attack at base NV brazier form is 260, so attack is higher. At EX3 base form 372, at EX3 BS form 398, so pretty high. So Ardyn has higher HP, MP, and attack in brazier form than his normal form. His defense and spirit are higher in normal form than his brazier form, so it's recommended to use him for damaging in brazier form. Here are the resistances for normal and brazier form. So in base form, he has 50% fire resistance, and base form has 50% fire, and brazier form has 50% dark resistance. So those resistances are also going to be useful in dark visions. Ardyn also has true brave shift, meaning he can freely switch between his two forms. He doesn't have a cooldown, so you can just freely switch between his two forms. There are no restrictions. Alright, so equipment here, he has the same equipment pool as his, same for base form and same for brazier form. He can also cast up to level 6 white and black magic with Arrhenius ring equipped from the Scorn of Arrhenius trial. He can quad cast black magic if you want him to chain, support chain quad CWA. So if you want to maybe farm a Chronicle battle and you want him to chain with Lunafreya, you can equip the Arrhenius ring and cast Tandaga, quad cast Tandaga so you can chain with Lunafreya brazier form. Alright, so normal form strengths. Ardyn got a global upgrade similar to Cobalt Blade Noctis. He now fills his LB gauge by 48 at the start of the battle. His JP version didn't have that. So this happens upon revival or after brave shift. He can now fire his LB to deal some damage and apply a sword imperil on turn 1. So this makes his skill rotation a bit smoother compared to when he has to fill his LB gauge manually. So living on covered in blood and darkness. That's kind of dark. This increases his physical damage against humans and fairies by 150%. This also increases his LB damage 100, and autocast the living on covered in blood and darkness. This increases his LB gauge 48, and his LB is Royal Retribution, max 40, 9 hits, 48 LB. This does physical damage 100 to all enemies, and decrease sword resistance 25 for 5 turns to all enemies. This is him and Cobalt Noctis. They both have this sword imperil. Alright, so Ardyn is a Stardust Ray Chainer in normal form. He can imbue dark and apply a fairy spirit killer buff to himself. So the spirit killer buff can be spread by Mastermind Sun. He can also apply 2-stack Mirage himself and imperil dark to one enemy. So Warp Shadow is dark physical damage 36 to all enemies. This has 2 stacks of Mirage and also adds dark element, Stardust Ray. Inferno Sword is a Stardust Ray attack, does 72 to one enemy. Also decreases dark resistance by 120. Power of the King of Demons. This is a cooldown ability that inflicts disease to all enemies. Useful for in dark visions if the enemy is not immune to disease. Increases physical damage against fairies 150. And last is Endless Grudge, a high hitting Stardust Ray ability, but it has only 5 uses per battle. It cannot be multicast, so it has to be just one selection on the multicast. Alright, so that's physical damage 90 to one enemy. Alright, so what are the weaknesses in normal form? Ardyn can't buff his attack while in normal form. So if you notice, it didn't have a buff attack buff ability in his normal form. His attack buff is only available in his Brazier form. If you don't have his EX1 unlocked, you would need to bring an external attack buffer for him. Endless Grudge has limited uses per battle, so he will be forced to use Inferno Sword for Stardust Ray Chaining once he uses all the charges for Endless Grudge. So here are his passives in normal form. He has 180 attack, 150 true dual wield. He doesn't have true double hand. He has innate double dual wield. He has 200% increased chain modifier cap. LB damage 100, HP 70, MP 50, defense 70, and spirit 70. So quite low defensive stats, but kind of high offensive stats. He is resistant to paralyze, disease, and petrify. His normal attack changes into physical damage 38 to one enemy bolting strike. So if he's dual wielding, he will use that twice. He has a passive 150 human and fairy killer, so he's actually really good against human and spirit or fairy enemies. Miscellaneous abilities: 3 LB per turn, 7% MP refresh, and he can survive 2 attacks if he equips his TMR and STMR. So he has guts max 2. So we're moving on to his Brazier form. We're not going to dwell on his normal form since he's not going to do much damage in that. But you can gear him for LB damage in normal form because his LB base form LB is part of his rotation. So you can just squeeze out as much damage as you can by building him for LB damage. So Ardyn got a global buff also for his Brazier form. It removes the dark element that was attached to his jump ability. So in JP, FFBE JP, his jump ability is locked to dark. In global, it doesn't have a dark element on it. It also got the delay reduced by 1 turn, so he lands the next turn after he jumps. However, it didn't get a modifier boost like Noctis's jump ability. So 83, still 83. Noctis got up to 100. His self buff are rolled into 1 skill, so it's quite handy. You just need to cast this 1 buff, and then everything is already included there. So Retribution Vermillion Blade Ardyn is his jump ability. Physical damage 83 with time jump delay 1 turn to 1 enemy. Phantasm 6 turn cooldown available on turn 1. This increases his attack by 300. His LB damage by 150. Increases his dark and physical and magic damage by 20. And it enables the Spectral Charge. So Spectral Charge actually increases the modifier for his jump damage. So if you're trying to do the most burst in 1 turn, it's recommended to Spectral Charge. But if you're going for average damage per turn, just ignore the special charge and just keep on jumping. Alright, so Ardyn can also function as a Dark Stardust Ray Chainer in Brazier form. So if you don't have enough jump damage gear, you can use him as a chainer if you want. He has a skill that has a big modifier, but it is limited to 5 uses per battle, Endless Darkness, and Unique Selection and Multicast. The only other skill he can cast with it is a low modifier skill that improves Dark and applies a 2-stack Mirage. So Warp Shadow is shared between his 2 forms. You can cast Endless Darkness with 2 Warp Shadows if you want him to Stardust Ray Chain. It is limited to 5 uses per battle though, so upon 5 turns of using it, you will run out of uses for Endless Darkness. So another way to build Ardyn is as an LB damage healer. So his LB has a fairly high modifier, and he has 100% LB damage passive and 150% LB damage buff. If you're missing a lot of jump damage equips and have a lot of LB equips, you can use him this way. So Warp Strike Pain, max level, 6 hits, 48 LB. This does physical damage 125 to 1 enemy. So he has a high modifier for his LB there. Alright, so weaknesses for Brazier form. Ardyn doesn't have access to his Fairy Killer buff in Brazier form. There's no way to squeeze it in his rotation without sacrificing a turn to cast it, so that's pretty bad if you really need a fair killer. His Dark Imperil is attached to his limited use ability, so you won't be able to Imperil Dark after 5 uses of that ability. Here are his Brazier Form passives, not much different from his normal form, except he gets 20% more attack and MP. He also gets 300% jump damage to support his jump build. Right, so 300% damage. So how do we build his Brazier Form? So Ardyn really wants 2 Ultima Blades +4 to take advantage of his Sword Imperil and for the high flat attack. So Ultima Blade is CPU Noctis's STMR, so you could get 2 copies of those, farm the Ifrit Chronicle Battle to upgrade them to +4, and you will get the ultimate build for Ardyn. So equip his own Vision card or Noctis's Vision card for jump damage and attack boosts. By the way, I forgot to mention, you can also use his STMR. If you are missing Ultima Blade, it gives jump damage also. Alright, so he wants his own STMR or Noctis's STMR as armor for the jump damage and killers. So 100% jump damage there. Equip our Warlord Leg Guard to cap True Dual Wield, so he only needs 50% more. Warlord Leg Guard will give 100%, so that's over cap. And then a bunch of jump damage material like Memories of Ragnarok and Dragoon's Wisdom. Memories of Ragnarok is, you can buy that for summon coins if you summon on his banner for 3 summon coins. So you can get that there. And also I think Dragoon's Wisdom. Alright, so he has single slot for killer there if you want. And this is his best build. Alright, so how do we use him in Brazier form? So he spends a turn in normal form to fire off his LB to apply the Sword Imperil, so 25 Sword Imperil. He fills his LB gauge on turn 1, so you don't have to imbue him, entrust him or anything. It is recommended to build his normal form for LB damage to maximize the damage he does, I mentioned earlier. On turn 2, buff and imbue Dark and Imperil. So Phantasm from plus Endless Darkness and Warp Shadow for the imbue. You can just drop the Endless Darkness and Warp Shadow if you're using other elements. If you're externally imbuing him with other elements. Turn 3 to 6 alternate between jumping and landing. So this is best damage over time, the average damage build rotation. If you want to do the most damage in a single turn, spend a few turns charging up his retribution skill using the spectral charge. All right, he's gonna do 1494 modifier with 800 jump damage and dual wielding, so that's pretty good. Turn 4 and 6 are his burst turns. Alright, so let's compare CB Noctis, King Edgar Figaro, and VB Ardyn. So they all have 200% chain cap modifier, 100% LB damage passive, 150 for Noctis and Ardyn, but nothing for NV Edgar. True Dual Wield, they're all equal at 150% jump damage. King Edgar has the advantage there at 450. All others have 300 only, but Ardyn and Noctis have TMRs and SUMRs and vision cards that have jump damage. So, and also they can equip, their TMR has jump damage as well. Alright, so jump modifiers, CB Noctis has the highest at 100. While Edgar has 80. Jump delay, 1 for Ardyn and Noctis, but 2 for King Edgar, so he's gonna lose out on the turn there. Element is light for Noctis and non-elemental for everyone else. LB cost is 48 for Ardyn and Noctis, 32 for Edgar. And attack passives 200 for Noctis and Ardyn, 180 for Edgar. Killers, both have Fairy Killer, Ardyn and Noctis, but Noctis has Reaper, while Ardyn has Human. King Edgar does more damage to avians and machinas. So I didn't add NVA Arnea here, but she has a lot of killers as well, but she's not innately a true dual wield damage healer. All right, so you need to force her to true dual wield, similar to Mazurka. All right. All right, so here's a damage comparison from Furcal's damage sheet. If you as you can see, Cobalt Blade Noctis is currently the reigning physical damage leader here at 3 trillion damage for his STMR burst. Second slot there is VB Ardyn for 2.5 trillion, so not much difference there, but he is not elementally locked, so you can imbue him with any element you want. So going down the list, look at King Edgar Figaro. He can do 1.7 trillion damage. All right, so if you're looking for a physical damage healer, VB Ardyn is not a bad choice. All right, so final thoughts. VB Ardyn is second to Noctis in the damage chart, but he does have an advantage over him, and that his jump ability is non-elemental. So with NV Ferris and NV Barts to support him in a wind team, so NV Barts can increase his wind damage by 45%. NV Ferris can put up physical damage, wind physical damage field using her LB. So those are additives. So 45 plus 25, 70% more damage for VB Ardyn. If he is imbued by wind, he will deal more damage than Noctis since he won't be using dual elements. So if you're doing the same thing for Noctis, imbuing him with wind, he will split the damage amp with his wind damage amp with his light damage amp. So he won't be fully benefiting from the 45% LB damage. Wind damage amplification from Bart's. All right, so he will become a staple in Dark Visions for a while because of this. All right, I'm going to throw a few tickets on his banner, hoping to get him. Alas, I spent 40,000 lapis pulling for NV Lunafreya, so my lapis reserves are kind of low. I'm almost back at 40k, but I'm gonna wait to see what next week will bring us. It could be the global original unit. I'm gonna see if the kit is good, if the unit is good. I'm gonna pull for it. So I'm gonna spend a few tickets on his banner, hoping to get him. I really like his STMR and him as a unit. Best villain for me in FFBE. Alright, so for those looking for a physical damage healer and a great one at that, you should pull for VB Ardyn. He is more flexible in terms of elemental imbues compared to CB Noctis. It is regrettable that his jump modifier didn't get a buff, but it's understandable because they remove the dark element from it. Alright guys, that's it for VB Ardyn. Hopefully this was helpful. If this was helpful guys, consider subscribing to the channel for more review videos for FFBE. I also make other gaming content every now and then. So if you're interested in that, consider subscribing to the channel. You can also find me in various social media. The links are in the description. You can add me also in FFBE. My friend ID is there. If you already subscribed to the channel, thank you for that. If you want to take it further, you can also join the channel membership. You can support me financially every month to keep the channel alive. You can also use specific emojis when you comment on my channel, and also when you comment when I stream. You also get badges next to your name if you become a member of Azure Gaming. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video. Bye bye.